Welcome into the Fill in the Blanks podcast. I am Jarvis Davis. I have my glorious co-host, Tenitra Batiste, who has switched up her chain, by the way. She had the Gucci Man chain on, but now she has the more subtle look going on, rocking the red today and representing that all famous Delta Sigma Theta sorority. Sorority. What is that? But we got a lot of things on board today. But before we get into that, Tenitra, how are you?
You know what, Jarvis? I am better 48 hours removed from a natural disaster on turf. And,
Oh
I got
Lord.
a chance to
Oh
process.
yeah.
So, yeah, little sports PTSD for my people out there, but all good. How about you?
Cannot complain, cannot complain. But since you already brought it up, let's talk about your disaster and what happened in this city, in Atlanta, at Mercedes Benz on Sunday. The Falcons lose 40-39 at home in the last minute because they couldn't recover an onside kick. Is it that simple, or is it a little bit deeper than that, T?
Jarvis, I'm so glad you asked, as our pastors would say. So glad you asked. And, I'm going to chuckle about this one, but we asked them, you in passing may have asked, I in passing, certainly all of our media corps in the last week and some change asked them about being, on the road, being in Arlington,
Yeah.
playing with at least somewhat capacity of a crowd, and you got to wonder about that. But of course, Jarvis,
21,000. That's a
exactly, so
nice
that's
sized
a
crowd.
nice
Yeah.
crowd, right? And I don't know if you've ever been to AT&T Stadium, depending on how you position them, and the fact that they have sound systems up the yin yang, about the jumbotron, etc. It
Mhm.
can really feel like a full capacity stadium. So I've been there, and boy, it's a tough place to play. Whether you got 21,000 or the over 100,000 that the capacity can accommodate. Anyway, we both know that's just one piece of it, one piece of the puzzle. This is for me, it was not just the tale of two halves, Jarvis, but you know how it was like
Mhm.
almost like a slow drip type of situation where
A slow
even
death.
up,
Mhm.
yeah, slow down, exactly. Even up 20 to nothing. When you saw that the Cowboys outscored the Falcons in the second quarter and how Cowboys were starting to get momentum, you just knew in the third quarter and possibly the second half. I think you even tweeted that it wasn't over. You knew it wasn't over.
Yeah.
Uh,
Mm,
so
yeah.
yeah, exactly. So those are exactly the things we're talking about. Trying to commit more to the run game, start to finish. You got a 20-point lead. I need you to just go in and just try. I don't care. I don't care if Dallas is stuffing you and keeping you under about, I believe it was like 3.4 yards a carry. Keep trying. Just keep
Yeah.
trying. If
Yeah.
nothing else, you're milking the clock and you're doing a little bit more to solidify the play action that you had started solidifying in that first quarter. So that's the first thing I'm thinking of on offense. Secondly, on defense, I just think that they took their foot off the gas
Mhm.
continuously when you knew Dallas was going to have to come at you and come at you hard. And so I think that the halftime adjustment should have been made in preparation. You knew Dallas had the ball coming back in the second half. You knew they were going to throw said ball in the second half. And once again, Jarvis, as you and I saw up close and personal week one, there were no adjustments on defense for what you thought it was going to be in the beginning or what it was and what it ended up being in the end. And then you've already touched on it. I know you're going to go into detail because, and I want to hear this from you as well, because your eyes and ears being on a football field, even through the pro level. But Jarvis, even as a dancer, there are basic steps that we all know. There are
Yeah.
basic turns, there are
Yeah.
basic splits, there are jumps, there are all kinds of things that you know, oh, okay. Or even as a ballroom dancer, I know when my partner does this, I do that. And I know this
Mhm.
might look, it could look here, it could look here, it could look here, but I have 3, 4 options of what it's going to look like 3, 4 times.
Mhm.
So at the end of the day, you get paid to do one thing,
That's
and
it.
that is make sure you pounce on that ball. Now, I don't want to take a look. I don't want to take a look away from what Joe Braxton is saying. Losing Pack hurt. Hope he can get back sooner. Yeah, you do have to acknowledge the loss of Foye Aluakin. That to me might have been the one of the four
Yeah.
that hurt the most because Now, Foye, that's steady Eddie on the special team. He's
Yeah.
counting on that ball. He's catching that ball. Dallas, you're not getting that ball back if Foye is out there. 3 fumbles in the beginning. He had Zeke's number, so you missed out on Tack. I think you're going to speak to Matt Gono. He did a solid job in replacement of Caleb McGarry. Also, I think Tack McKinley just getting his feet under him. You talked about that before, and all of a sudden now I've got to deal with yet another injury. Quiet as kept, Jarvis, and then I'm going to be quiet. But I had to just get the emotions were just brewing.
Yeah, you gotta let it all. Just let it flow. Just let it flow. Let the spirit move you.
You and I lived through 1-7 last year. We lived through
Yeah.
1-7 people,
Yeah.
so it's up close and personal. Fourth, and hopefully not minimize too much, Rico Allen. You miss your quarterback on that defense, and you can say what you want to say about pre-snap communication, changing things up for last minute, etc. You don't have Rico out there to do the job that Matt does on offense. You missed that. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm gonna get my towel out, and I'm gonna just,
So just a couple of things. Let's start off with the onside kick because that's obviously the big piece that is being discussed and the thing that really just lets me know that Dan Quinn doesn't need to be the head coach of this team anymore because I think the message is stale. I think it's getting old. It's getting tired. Because there are a lot of people, if you talk about what his message is, it's all about finish. Like, how many times can you count Dan Quinn said it's all about the finish? It's all about going after the ball. Isn't it ironic that that's one of his Quinnisms? And they did the exact opposite of that. They did not finish on Sunday, and they did not go after the ball in the fourth quarter when they needed to, needed to the most. And, they were going after the football in the beginning of the first half, but this has been this team consistently throughout this regime under the Dan Quinn and Thomas Dimitroff regime. They have been a team that has consistently not been able to finish. And I think it is time for some changes. It's time for a change. It's time for a new voice. It's time for new messages. Because if those guys aren't getting to the point where they understand game situations, they understand basic football rules, basic principles, like if he can't get that message across to them to where they understand, and if they don't understand it, they're being held accountable for it. Because did anything happen to Jaden Graham or Lamade Zacchaeus or Sherrod Neesman?
Yeah.
Those are the guys that were sitting around watching that ball just roll to 10 yards. So and then try to make a pounce on it after Dallas Cowboy player jumped on the football. It's just that just speaks to where this team is right now. And where this team is right now doesn't give me any confidence whatsoever that they're going to be able to turn this game around. I know it's only 2 games in. I totally understand that. I understand when people say that. But I know you have 14 games left. But what gives you any reasoning? What gives you any inclination that Dan Quinn is going to be able to turn this thing around? Because he already said he's not making any changes. Because after this game, I would have the special team coordinator needs to be fired.
Done. Yeah.
Period.
Done.
Period. And this not just for this thing solely. What has this special teams done since he's been here? Ben Kotwika is his name. He's the special team coordinator. I know his name kind of goes under the radar because people don't think about those guys, but special team has been an issue. Especially in the return game, when you have guys consistently calling for fair catch, when there's an opportunity, the possibility to make a play, and and the things especially from a punt return standpoint, all you need is 10 yards. That's all you need. Yeah. That's all you need is 10 yards. You can get one less first down the offense has to worry about. You've done your job. You've done your job, and they have consistently not been able to do anything to help out their offense because Matt, they get the ball, more than likely they got to go 75 yards. And that is a hard thing to do on a consistent basis. We saw when they were working with short field and they got those turnovers, you see what they did. They were
Yeah.
able to get in the end zone, multiple times. So I think that when you think about where this team is as a whole going forward, I don't have any confidence in this team to put a consistent product out there outside of finding a way to lose a game.
Yeah, Jarvis. I mean, you're absolutely right. I love a couple words that you used. One,
It looks like we have lost my partner Tenitra Batiste, so I'm gonna give her a little time to get back. But if I could just kind of continue to talk about what it is the Atlanta Falcons are, where they are from a football standpoint, I think one of the first things they have to do to try to fix this is they have to find a way to get Isaiah Oliver off the football field. I think that Isaiah Oliver has shown consistently that he is not a guy that can get it done. And welcome to Tanisha back. Tanisha was just talking about what the Falcons can do to try to fix this issue. And from a football standpoint, we know more than likely Arthur Blank, and he came out to on yesterday and talked about it looks like the players didn't know what to do. And to hear that from your owner, I think that is I wouldn't say the nail in the coffin, but it's halfway there
yeah.
to for him to publicly put that out there like that and basically
Mhm.
say these guys aren't getting coached to the point where they know what to do in these situations and in these moments.
Right.
So I think that Dan Quinn's gonna have to figure this thing out from a on the field standpoint and see what they have. Like obviously, it's hard to take a guy like Isaiah Oliver off the field when you don't when Kendall Sheffield is hurt, and then you're running this three safety system, and you don't know if Ricardo Allen is. It seems that injury is not going to be long term. Say he's had an elbow issue, but it's essentially you're working with what you have. And if you can't fix the issues on the field with what you have, then not only you got to look at Dan Quinn, but you got to look at Thomas Dimitroff as well. And I think that's the guy I just really wholeheartedly feel that Thomas Dimitroff is Teflon. I call him a Teflon Don. And nobody
And that
mentions his
TV may
name, and
be turning out.
right, and then everybody, right, exactly, yeah, I like that. Like, thanks, Tanisha, you're always paying attention. But, when you think about all of the anguish and anger that's in the vitriol being spewed out on yesterday and today, and tipping over into the day as well, people tend to forget about Thomas. He even though Dan Quinn had input on the groceries, Thomas Dimitrov, he picked him. That's for sure. He was at the cash register when they were getting ready to pay. That's for sure.
Right. And that's what I wanted to go back to. I mean, literally, I was chuckling because as my internet connection was coming back, I could still hear you. Right. And so I was sitting there going, yes, Jarvis, that's exactly what I was going to say. Isaiah Oliver and inconsistency. So let's go back to that because I'm not just brushing over that.
No doubt. Yeah.
Uh, so Ramon, look, man, you got a special name just like I do. So I'm gonna say Ramon with the
It's Raymond.
Monegee,
Yeah.
our audience member, supporter from
Yeah, like Raymond was saying, he said we can look at what have happened to win, but what do the Falcons do going forward with the season as a staff and as players? I think one of the main things you can start with is you're gonna have to change their mindset. And Tenitra, I was just answering Ramon's question
Yeah.
about this what they can do as a staff and as players, and I was just saying, I want to get your thoughts on this. They're gonna have to look at scoring 30 to 35 points a game. That's gonna have to be their mentality going forward.
Right, and it's a sad commentary, but it's something that they acknowledge because you heard a time or two in the media avails yesterday. We talked to Dan Quinn, we talked to Dirk Cutter, we also spoke to Russell Gage that, hey, we should have scored more. And that's a scary thought. You should have scored more. 39 points weren't enough. You got teams out here, with 440 and 0.
Yeah, since 1933. Nobody has lost as being the +4 turnover category and scored 39 points.
So what do you mean you gotta score more?
This literally has never happened before. Like this team has done that twice.
In the history of
the NFL, these things have happened twice. And when I'm talking about the other one, we know what we're talking about with the other one. 28-3. Yeah, we ain't gonna go there. I just throw the numbers out there. You know what I'm talking about.
When you look at it and you say, oh my God, that's where the sports PTSD really does come from for the Falcons fan.
Right.
I will tell you this, Jarvis, as a Steelers fan, I'm spoiled because, a couple of my boys were like, we're 2-0, we're 2-0. I was like, bye. Nah, we don't.
You don't celebrate that stuff. Yeah.
Nah, bro. We're like 2-0, man. You better get out of here. We want the AFC North. We want top seeding and a bye in the playoffs. We want an appearance at a minimum in the Super Bowl because the bar is set so high. Like I told them, I don't even check in until about the second quarter or midway through the season because we've set such a high bar. Conversely, in Falcon land, that bar has been set lower and lower and lower because the fans have been traumatized. Then Jarvis, you hit on something that's very interesting. I'm gonna hit you with 3 words that unfortunately before the connection just dropped me. It's I think about this whole idea of fast and physical.
Yeah.
I think about this whole idea of consistency, and I think about this whole idea of being able, flexibility, versatility. Boom. So I'm going to use some DQ-isms right here to extend the point that you made. So let's start with fast and physical. What's really physical about looking at a ball versus actually getting the ball? Okay. Yep. So just because going back to Foyer, very much a loss in that first half, but just because you lose one person, does that not mean that the whole team should be about, stepping up to the plate and each man taking on the responsibility of takeaways? You're always talking about being physical and staying physical. I didn't really see a lot of that. It felt more like finesse defense in the second half.
A lot of soft coverage, a lot of giving up big chunk plays. Like as a defense, that is a recipe for a disaster. That is a recipe for what we actually saw.
Right, and then not just the chunk plays, but as we say, the yak. So even if you give up the play, can you stop
make the tackle? Yes.
The tackle, which is actually an inverse to what we saw in game 1. Because you had about 4 or 5 missed tackles, but with no preseason, you would have expected to see most of that. Then, coupled with the fact that you have, and I'm going to say the good fortune, but please, FIDB fam, know that I don't mean it that way because there were so many big-time players that got injured on Sunday. But you did have a depleted Cowboys team on offense and defense that you weren't working with the likes of Tyron Smith. You weren't working with Leighton Vander Esch. So
2 backup tackles.
Yes, and when you
Leo Collins too at right tackle. Both tackles were gone.
Right, and when you look at the numbers of, say, a Tyron Smith versus, say, I think was Terrence Steele in for him on Sunday. When you look at so when you look at the havoc that Tyron Smith has wreaked over the years against the Falcons versus Terrence, it's like night and day. So where was the exploitation of that on a consistent basis? So
there you go.
Lack of physicality, lack of consistency, and also where was the versatility? Where was the versatility in terms of, okay, we know that they're going to bring something different in the second half, so we need to bring something different. I like some of the plays, the Russell Gage throw to Julio Jones. I mean, that hamstring That's something we need to be careful of because he admitted himself if that hamstring was right, that would have been a touchdown.
Right,
But
right.
also,
But there ain't no excuse. There's no excuse either.
no, and he wasn't making it. And I give him a lot
Yeah,
of credit
yeah,
that he wasn't making the excuse, but he was just acknowledging it's probably a little bit more than maybe he's letting on. But we know he's Iron
yeah,
Man, so
yeah. No doubt. Yeah, yeah.
anything. But I think too, Jarvis, you said something earlier. It's a philosophical issue, okay? Because you went 6-2 last year, and you made some key moves. You put Raheem Morris at the top on defense. You got Joe Witt Jr. with a philosophy that everybody's been talking about, bar none, right? So you got some pieces in place. I do agree with you. I don't think Keith Armstrong would have allowed that to happen Sunday. And if he did, we would have gotten a memo on Monday that 3 folks were cut. Okay, just saying. But
yeah.
I'm with you on. I don't know if this is the right fit for special teams. But then my question too, Jarvis, and I know it's a tough one, but going back to Isaiah Oliver, do we have the right personnel? And how can we maximize the personnel that we have? Is that a KZ? I know you want him at safety, but he can play corner. Can that give you anything? Can you get just a little bit more out of the Darqueze Dennard? Because at least, from a mental mistake perspective, you might. I don't know. That's the other question I think that begs here. Do we have the right personnel on defense? Where you're going to get what you're going to get out of offense to get you the points, but do you have the right personnel on defense? And if not, how can you maximize that personnel better, whether that's the secondary or the D-line, or dare I say it, both?
You know what? To be honest, to kind of put a wrap a bow around this conversation, I think there's going to be a hard decision to have to be made, and that's you're going to have to bench Isaiah Oliver.
Yeah,
that's going to have to happen.
Yeah,
because he's consistently being picked on, and I brought this up on the Falcons Fiber. Yeah, you got a rookie on the other side, and if people are still going at you, like, come on, that says something. That says a lot because most of the time people are going to pick on rookies. Yeah. Like, I don't care how great you are, from Jeff Okuda, like whoever, I don't care who you are, they're going to try you. They see where your head is, and they're not even doing that. They are going to the other side. And I think that if you're asking me, do they have somebody who can possibly be better than Oliver? I don't know. They do have some people they can put in the meantime to try to see if you can work something out from a mental standpoint, or hey, like, we're gonna only use you in dime situations, like, so I think it's something you can do, and I think bringing in a guy like Bleedy Ray Wilson possibly to play opposite side of AJ Terrell, so I think that should be an option.
Yeah.
Going forward, because I don't think it's right now. You can't think about feelings because you're already coaching for your job, and like we said, we're 2 weeks in.
Yeah.
Because you're a defensive-minded head coach, and your defense has been the issue.
Yes.
Pretty much ever since 2017. Since 2017, this defense has been an issue. It has been the weak link. It has been the conversation about what needs to be done and what needs to be fixed for as far as this team as a whole.
Yeah,
so
and that doesn't get easier in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Like I said, this offense is going to have to be the catalyst for this team, and like I said, it's going to be at least 30 to 35 points a game. They don't have to. That's going to have to be the goal, and they're going to have to meet and exceed that goal on a week-to-week basis. But speaking of goals, the Atlanta Braves, their goal has been to put a formidable pitching staff out there to be able to go along with this amazing batting lineup that they have had, and the amount of production that these guys have been able to put out there this 60 game season has been amazing. It's been fun to watch, even with dealing with all the injuries from Ozzie Albies being out for some time, and even nephew Ronnie being out. And they've just been able to keep ticking, keep putting those points on the board and putting those runs on the board. And when you have a guy like Adam Duvall and Marcell Ozuna and those off the scrap heap guys that Alex Anthopoulos has always been able to find, But my question is, we just found out with the news of Cole Hamels
There
being put
wasn't news for
on.
Jarvis in me, but go ahead.
Ah, yeah, I'm not shocked. Yeah, it's typical. With the news of him going to the IL and being done for the year, can you count on Max Fried? Can you count on Ian Anderson? Can you count on Kyle Wright? Can you count on those guys to get the job done, to get this team to a World Series, which they should be right in line for, given the type of runs they can put up night in and night out?
Yeah, I think it's still a question. Thank goodness for the bullpen. I mean, the bullpen absolutely showed out
Yes.
last night after
Yes.
Gave up 3 runs to start the game off. The bullpen only gave up 1 run the rest of the way. I mean, Shane Green, Tyler Matzik, Mark Melanson, Chris Martin, just straight lights out, straight lights out. So that's, if nothing else, that's probably your most encouraging thing when you look at that pitching staff as a whole, is your bullpen has gutted it out and bailed you out, and you're probably going to have to lean on them to do the same thing because, like you said, you maybe have a pseudo 1-2 punch in Max Fried and Ian Anderson, and boy, oh boy, Kyle Wright showed up in his last start, so that should be very encouraging. But to your point, Jarvis, what's that going to look like, especially when you get into sort of a bubble environment, if you will, in the postseason, and you don't have the luxury, kind of the creature comforts of home for this young staff. But I do want to say one thing that makes me encouraged to say, hey, they can at least do what we need them to do the 2 years before when they won the NL East, because in all likelihood they'll win it again. Because even with the magic number being down to 3 mathematically, they've also got tiebreakers in their favor. They win tonight, Phillies lose, it's over. The NL East is theirs. So yeah, so that's the awesome thing about where they sit. But I think what'll be even better and even different this year than maybe the 2 years before is the defense. I mean, Jarvis, even last night, Ronald Acuna,
The way they closed out the game last night, yeah.
Ronald Acuna had this amazing defensive catch, this dive last night, but it was like you said, it was in the all critical, the 8th inning and the 9th inning, just Austin Riley, Dansby Swanson, there was a 1-3-6 double play that was so very crucial. I believe that in addition to hot bats, whether that's home run, grand slams, or these guys have been getting a lot of hits too. They're getting on base. It's just a matter of, can your defense continue to do what it's doing and keep runners stranded for the other team? And I think that's where my encouragement comes in for them. But you're right. Exciting to watch.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to see what this team does, and hopefully I don't get disappointed because, like, as a born and bred Atlanta fan, like, I'm so tired of being disappointed.
I know you
because,
nice things.
because when you think about it, T, like you mentioned earlier, there was no point in that Falcons game. I know I'm putting this is self-punishment right here. This is self-inflicted pain right here. You're like, going back to that. How do I get to that? Go back to the Braves, but to be able to look at their game and say this team is up 20 points and say, you know what, this game is not over. It's not over. It's not over. And then for a team to lead for 59 minutes and 56 seconds of the game and still lose? Like, what are we doing here? So hopefully that does not happen for the Braves. Hopefully they change this thing around. Like I said, they have the lineup to do it. And hopefully these young pups that they have in this pitching rotation can do their part. They don't have to carry the team. All they have to do is do their part. Couple quick things before we get out of here. How about this? Deion Sanders is coaching Jackson State. Like, really? Like, T, come on now, talk to me. Talk to me about that one now.
New coach? Who this?
Right, Jackson State.
Jackson State. Like,
do they call him Coach Prime or Coach Sanders, Coach Deion? Like, how do I can have so many questions. So many questions.
Right. Well, you know what? I'm kind of looking at the bigger picture of who's winning. And yes, Jackson State is winning, but you know who's really winning? The SWAC. The SWAC, just straight up. The SWAC is winning. Because when you look at sort of the, I'm going to call it a defection, but when you look at the likes of FAMU, Bethune-Cookman making their way into the SWAC in their 100th year of existence, and then a coup like getting Deion Sanders, and who knows, the star-studdedness that he's going to bring to the staff, especially that 2021 recruiting class. That it just got lit. It just got real lit, real fast. So
Yes.
I'm looking at that, and I'm excited because I think the SWAC is ultimately winning, and then Black college football is going to win because of it. And I think too, this just goes to when we look at McCure Maker, and as you know, two of my girls in the village, Bria and Simone Woodard, top volleyball players in the nation, who flipped from Texas A&M to Howard University. There is a shifting.
HU.
HU, you know it with that.
I don't know if you heard Tanae in the background talking about, I guess I can say that,
It didn't even have to be that. She knew that was her call. But yeah, man, it's just an exciting time, I think. And for you as well, I'm sure you're smiling on the inside, being an alum of Albany State, being an alum of the HBCU football team, and seeing that resurgence. But now, Jarvis, it's time for us as alums, Xavier University. It's time for us to also put our money and our support where our mouths are.
Trying to run that check up now, right? I know you know. I know you about that too. Yeah, for sure.
So all you people that are all excited about what's going on at J-State, I want all of J-State Nation to get out a check and mail it to Deion Sanders and that athletic department so that they can get out there.
It don't matter no matter what it is either. Yep.
No, it doesn't. It can be $1 or $1,000. Get that money in there so that they will also have the facilities for those young men and even women, because this is going to bring you some positives in other sports as well. But yeah, make it work for them. If you want this to be a long-lasting trend, then give them $1 so it can work. But yeah, excited.
Since we talking about movements, how about Michael Jordan buying being a majority owner for a NASCAR team, one car team, and with Denny Hamlin, one of the more storied NASCAR drivers in NASCAR history. Like, what is going on? It is some serious stuff going on in the world of sports. And Mike even talked about how his parents, and I would have never known this. He said his parents used to take him to NASCAR races growing up in North Carolina. That was a thing. And his parents used to take him there. And for him to be able to, I ain't going to say give back, because we know he's in this thing to make money. And that's why he brought in probably one of the more popular guys in Bubba Wallace, the only African-American driver in NASCAR, as his sole car driver. So, like, there's some really good stuff going on, some really positive news going on, and hopefully this is just the beginning of starting to get, to be quite frank, get more black people involved in this sport.
Yeah, absolutely. And we know that, like you said, Bubba Wallace is that only African American on the top level, but a couple of the drivers, and forgive me for forgetting their names, but a couple of the up and coming drivers have reached out to me of recent, and one of these good days we will bring them on Fill in the Blanks. These are guys and girls who are in undergrad. Okay, they are definitely the pit crew folks like Brianna Daniels, but also actual drivers who are coming up the ranks in NASCAR, who are at HBCUs like A&T, if I'm not mistaken, that are in a program that is setting them up to become drivers and be a part of it. Because when you think about the story of the amazing Hall of Famer Wendell Scott, and the fact that for 14 years he was the first African American owner of a pro sports team, because he was the team. He owned his car. He was all he had.
Yes.
And to this day, back in the 60s, is the only person, I think it was the Jacksonville 200, to actually have won a NASCAR race, African American that was like 1964, Jarvis. That was 1964. So yeah, we definitely are seeing a vanguard, a changing of the guard, an evolution of the guard that NASCAR seems to be embracing, and that's quite exciting.
Yeah, it is very exciting. And last but not least, here locally, the Atlanta Hawks. They about to start practicing? Look, you get excited when you talk about those Hawks. I'm assuming that's your favorite beat to cover. But we all know that in these times, Trae Young has been in the news about being snuffed out for being did he get one vote? And not being looked at as one of the more young and up and coming superstars in the league. I mean, and I think one of the things that really kind of did not help him, and I think that's why one of the reasons why he really wanted to get into the playoffs is because Luka Doncic was on a national platform in the playoffs, and you saw what he was able to do, and we all know Luka Doncic is really good. That's no secret. That's no secret at all. I think that it just played for a team like the Dallas Mavericks, and when you give a guy like Luka a national platform, you're gonna see how really good it is. But guess what? Trey is pretty doggone good as well. He's a hell of a player. So I think that for them to be able to get back at it, because it's March 11th, and here we are in September, and they haven't played or participated in any type of activities since then. I think it'll be good for them to get back on the court and also see what they have in a guy like Clint Capella.
Yeah, I agree with you. And yeah, Jarvis, you make a great point about the disappointment of not being able to go to Orlando, although you do have your mini bubble that's going on in mini camp this week. Because the other thing that those NBA players are famous for is starting their own negotiations when they're in close proximity to one another. So that's how the conversations have already started about why 11 teams feel like they can go after Giannis, because they've all been in a bubble. They were all in a bubble together for months and started to have those conversations.
They've been kicking it strong.
They're player-to-player pitches. So that's another thing that the Hawks missed out on, just the opportunity for Trey to get in there, for John Collins to get in there, and really just be able to say, hey, this is what we're building down in Atlanta. Why don't you come join? Because as you know, born and raised here, Atlanta fan who's looking for the Hawks to hopefully do some big things and take it to the next level, it's always been, and I'm taking Clint Capella out of this, but it's always been the challenge of getting that big name free agent. They're doing a solid job of building in the draft, but let's see what we can do with that free agent. But you're right. It's really good to see those guys back, because you wouldn't have wanted them to go 9 months without being able to at least play some 5-on-5, at least be able to bond, and if nothing else, kind of do their own version of a scouting report by getting together every night and watching those playoffs and watching tapes. So good stuff.
Yeah, so anytime, like I said, anytime you're able to get a young group like that together and start playing some ball, it is nothing but a positive. And hopefully Lloyd Pierce can get those guys to a point where, hey, we're talking about playoffs in 2021. My guy Joe talked about the Hawks will be the surprise of the 2021 NBA season. I hope so, because I really like this team. I have a soft spot in my heart for the Hawks, because I just really believe it's time. It's time. It is time. I'm saying it again. It is time for them to start putting themselves out there. And what I mean is getting a guy like Trey on this national platform so he can show what he can do, because I know he loves those big moments and he's continued to embrace them. And that's what you look for in a potential superstar guy. And you also want to be able to see that from your point guard as well. So all those things being mashed up and one together, I'm looking forward to the 2021 season for sure. Yeah.
And you've got I know we got to run, but just three things and real quick. Number one, you do have a rookie class that showed you something in 2019, 2020. So definitely want to shout out Cam Reddish, who was doing it towards the end of the season.
Yes.
DeAndre Hunter was getting his legs under them. But
so
also,
solid.
Jarvis, you were talking about, and I don't want to take you down the bad road, but talking about the Falcons and that organization and kind of the questions in the front office and on the sidelines. When you look at Braves and definitely even Hawks, and you look at what Lloyd Pierce is doing and how people say, hey, I believe in Travis Schlenk, they're also building a culture and an organization that is built for success. They've both seen the process in Philly, in Golden State, and they've seen it work at the highest level at Golden State and on some level in Philadelphia. And I just believe as well, it's what the organization is doing to say, hey, we want to be champions. We want to be winners.
And we want to be champions with you every week, every Tuesday at 4 o'clock. So please, FIDB fam, come back and see us next week. We'll be here. We'll be waiting on you. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube page at Fill in the Blanks 23. and also Google Podcasts, and we're on Spotify too. We just keep adding on. We just keep adding on to people. They just dropping this good. We dropping this good content. And they just picking us right on up. So, Tenitra, I know you got to get ready to run, and I got to get
Yeah.
ready to run.
Yes.
So, go ahead and do that benediction for me, please, if you don't mind. Thank you.
Yes. And people, if you need some uplifting today, and especially my females, because it's like what goes on in the pod stays in the pod. But if you got some time on your hand, go to at NABJ Sports
Right.
on Twitter. There's a link to register for our conference for women in sports. I'm going to be on the panel 6 o'clock tonight, just an hour of power of your time. My mentee, Nia Simone, is going to be on after that from 7 to 8, 5 to 6. We got a crew as well. It's going to be great. Got it tomorrow. And I'm not going to let it out of the bag, but Jarvis just gave you guys a hint about people and places and things picking up our content that's going to be picked up in about a week and a half. But that's the tease, Jarvis. If you want to know
Yeah.
what Jarvis has to announce next week, I suggest you come back next Tuesday.
Yep. Ooh, yes. And we're gonna leave it right there. Next
Wow.
Tuesday, 4 o'clock. Big announcement coming, baby. Y'all check us out. We'll see y'all next week. For Jarvis Davis, I'm Jarvis Davis. And Nitra Batiste. We'll see y'all. Peace.